Much, Mr. Chairman, and let me just also take the opportunity to, I think it's appropriate to say congratulations on your role in leading this committee. We sincerely look forward to working with you as this committee moves forward. And each of our witnesses, let me say thank you, and also to the previous panel as well for the work that each of you are doing. We are very much appreciative. Mr. Sterling, you mentioned briefly in your testimony some of the things that South Carolina is doing in the diversion options for less serious drug offenses, and I'm very proud in Georgia, Mr. McGahan, what is happening there with the accountability courts, where really instead of going to jail, people have the opportunity to prevent even starting the cycle of recidivism as they get involved in a 2-year-long court-supervised program that is evidence-based, a treatment program. They're involved in community service. They get jobs, all these types of things. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know if any of my colleagues have had the opportunity to be a part of one of the graduation ceremonies of these courts, the accountability courts, but I have gone, and I'll tell you, it took everything I had just to fight back the tears of watching how these individuals had, over the previous 2 years, experienced life change as they saw, many of them for the very first time, community support, where they themselves had their dignity raised as they got jobs, and they broke the cycle of what many of their families had perhaps for generations. So, Mr. Sterling, I want to come back to you, and if we can go fairly briefly, do you have any idea how many people who are currently in the percentage-wise, how many prisoners will be released at some point?
Well, most of them will be released. Sorry. I know in under 5 years, or roughly 5 years, it's 85%, and then it kind of goes down from there. Over 30 years, it's about 0.27%. 5 to 10 years is about 10%. Under 5 and under, it's 85%.
Okay, so say 10 years, probably 90% are going to be out. Is that fair to say, estimate-wise?
95%.
Okay, 95%. All right. So here's the issue that we're dealing with. These folks are going to be out.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the question then becomes, what happens with them when they're out? From what I've been able to find, well over 60% of prisoners who are released are rearrested within 2 years. In states where there are the accountability courts, that number drops from 60% down to 25%. I know in Georgia, we are well below even that rate for those that are a part of the accountability court. So, Mr. Sterling, how long, can you just briefly discuss some of the diversion options that are taking place in South Carolina?
Sure. We have drug courts, which are amazing to watch. We have veterans courts. We have Judge McCullough in Richland County has started mental health courts. As I said, 17% of those incarcerated in South Carolina are diagnosed with a mental health issue. And sometimes for these folks, getting treatment, getting hooked up with the proper medication, and medical professionals really can change their lives, and we'll never see them again. Incarcerating someone costs around $20,000 a year in South Carolina, which is one of the lowest in the nation. And by getting these treatments and having them become tax-paying citizens, we will never see them again.
That's amazing. Mr. McGahan, what y'all are doing with finding jobs and so forth, has it been difficult to find companies that will take these individuals?
Well, there are obstacles, certainly. There are some that are just not good fits, but then there are others who have a crisis and just need work. As you know, in Georgia, there's a lot of distribution centers, and our men go work there, property management companies. We have people who work in recycling, nighttime work. Because there's such a big need now for labor, and not to mention the construction, the food and beverage, the hospitality industries, we're able to use salesmen to help them overcome what their initial objections to get opportunities for our guys.
Well, I just, again, want to say thank you for all. I wish we had time just to hit on a lot of questions. I'm sure many more will come. But Mr. Chairman, I appreciate this hearing, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes